Hey, welcome everybody. Craig Lack here from Heads Up Advisor. It's May 18th. Where are you? Our show tonight, sponsored by Virtue Alliance. Tonight, we're going to have an interesting conversation from somebody with a wealth of experience, founder of Salesology, prospecting methods that generates predictable sales revenue, experienced working with insurance agents. Get ready to take some notes tonight. Welcome, Wendy.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Craig. I'm happy to be here.
Hey, lovely to see you. So tell everybody, our listeners are primarily health insurance agency. They work B2B. So tell us why they're going to be interested in your perspective, your experience, the depth of knowledge, and, what kind of fire are you going to share with them?
Wow. Here's the challenge. I'm Wendy Weiss. My company is Salesology. And about 75% of our business is with folks in the insurance industry, B2B. And we focus on the front end of the funnel. We help our clients build a pipeline of qualified opportunities faster, more easily, and more profitably. We are sales trainers. We teach prospecting. We teach our clients how to get in front of the people that they need to and want to get in front of to start that selling conversation to get new clients. That's what we do.
What a fantastic idea. But I got to tell you, Wendy, in my experience, to a lot of people out there, prospecting is a 4-letter word. And so tell them how you can eliminate the doubt, the stress, the negative self-talk, the fear of picking up the phone. If you have a process, if you have a winning formula for what you need to do step by step, as opposed to, unfortunately, so many of our professionals out there wing it.
That is true. That's a great question. Let's take a step back and imagine that you're in front of a new client and you want to help them to the very best of your ability. Are you going to make it up as you go along? Probably not. You probably have a process that the information that you need to gather. You know how to ask the questions. You know what questions to ask. You have a complete process so you can gather all the information that you need to be able to serve your clients. You are not making it up as you go along. Prospecting is exactly the same way, same thing. The problem that most people have when it comes to prospecting, and the reason so many people are really uncomfortable with it, is you don't have a process. When you say to yourself, I'm going to go prospect, there are a lot of decisions you have to make. Mm-hmm. Who are you going to reach out to? How are you going to reach out? Are you going to call them? Are you going to email them? Are you going to text them? Are you going to reach out on social media? What are you going to say? What happens if you don't reach them? You reach out to them multiple ways and it's crickets. You don't hear anything back. What do you do? These are all process questions. And what I have seen in all the years I've been doing this, and I've been doing this for about 25 years, for most people, once they learn a very simple step-by-step process, and they know what they are doing every step along the path, a lot of that discomfort goes away. And, one of my pet peeves, Craig, one of my missions in life is to stamp out the myth of the born salesperson, that somehow there are these people out there that are just born knowing what to do and they're born knowing what to say. And this is a myth. It is not true. You might be very talented, but that in and of itself is not enough to make you successful. Think about how many talented athletes are out there that have never made it to the Olympics or played pro sports. So just
Absolutely true. Yeah.
Just like an athlete, you need to learn your craft. You need to set up your process. That's what successful people do.
So what are some ways people could interact with you? I know you have a podcast. Why don't you share with them how at their time, in their leisure, while they're walking the dog, while they're driving the car, whatever it is that floats their boat, and they got a few extra minutes and they want to listen, to some intelligent prospecting strategies, where do they go?
Well, I'll invite you all, and thank you for asking that, Craig. I will invite you all to listen to the Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders podcast, The Art of Faster, Easier, More Profitable Sales.
That was a
Apple.
That was a mouthful. Go
That
slower.
is a mouthful.
How do they search? What is the exact name of the podcast?
The exact name is Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders, The Art of Faster, Easier, More Profitable Sales. However, search for Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders. You will find us.
Awesome. Awesome. Give me a couple of examples of how you've taken a newbie, an inexperienced prospector, and showed them where the diamonds were, and they learned, and they were successful, and they were able to prospect. And then also tell our audience, what's the difference between prospecting and marketing?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. You asked me that a little bit earlier. And the difference between prospecting and marketing is one to many. You want to do some email marketing, you hit send on that email, it goes out to hundreds of people or thousands of people or tens of thousands of people. Prospecting is one-to-one. There is a prospect that you would like to talk to and you reach out to them. So that's a very different thing. Marketing, a lot of marketing can be automated because it's one to many. Prospecting usually involves a human being doing it. So that's the difference between prospecting and marketing.
Tell us a couple stories about insurance agents who were successfully able to market B2B.
Certainly. I have somebody that our core program is called 3X appointments. We call it 3X because typically if we have someone in our program that's already doing business development, we can usually at a minimum double their numbers, and often we triple them. And what I mean by that is 2 or 3 times as many qualified appointments, heavy emphasis on the word qualified, and then there's a corresponding increase in revenue down the line because
that's pretty meaningful. That's a big claim.
Yeah. And we had someone in our program about 1.5 years ago, and he enrolled himself in the program. And after it was done, he shared with me that he enrolled himself, but he had been very skeptical about the whole thing because he'd been in business a really long time.
Yeah, you know what I call that, Wendy? I deal with skeptical know-it-alls every day, and so far you've done very little to differentiate yourself from the pool. Yeah.
There you go. And but to his credit, to Eric's credit, he did everything that we asked him to do because we asked him to change just about everything that he was doing. And to his credit, he did. Yeah. And at the end of the program, it's a 6-month program. At the end of the program, he sent me a video where he said, I was really skeptical about this whole thing, but my numbers tripled.
Wow. So you're prospecting, you have employers you've identified, maybe your top 100, like Chet Holmes likes to present your top 100. You could call it your top 50, local, regional, whatever floats your boat. So share with the audience, what kind of different outreaches are involved when you're trying to talk to some business to business. You're trying to talk to a CFO or a chief human resource officer or a VP of benefits, an HR manager, and you want to bring value to them.
We teach a very step-by-step process that involves the phone, leaving voicemails, emails, possibly texting, some social media outreach. We start with a phone call because you know what? The person you want to talk to may just pick up the phone and you can talk to them. So that's where we always start. And we do leave voicemail messages, send emails, text. The heart of what we teach is really on the messaging, because
does it matter what they say?
It matters what they say. Yeah, it does.
It's not just good enough to say, I'm Joe Blow from Johnny Tire Biter Agency and I'm calling to follow up. That's not good.
No, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't recommend
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But as we were discussing earlier, one of the benefits of picking up the phone, you know, things have really changed over the past several years. And, you know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, if you called a prospect, they'd say, you know how many brokers called me today? Well, I can pretty much guarantee you that your competitors are not calling.
Ooh, wait, say that again.
I can pretty much guarantee you your competitors are not calling.
Mm.
You are not going to hear, do you know how many brokers called me today? Because there's this myth that the phone is dead, or we can do everything on social media, or
Yeah.
just send an email. And also, interestingly, there was this study done at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business where they tested written communication against spoken communication. So written communication was like an email or a text or even a letter or a social media post. And then spoken communication was if you were in front of someone or on the phone or maybe a video call, and even a voicemail. And what they discovered was, one, if someone hears you talk, they think you're smarter than if they just read your email. And two, they're more likely to take action on whatever it is you're talking about. So 2 good reasons to pick up the telephone.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was interviewing yesterday. Hey, Jackson, if you're listening, I'm talking about you, brother. This 22-year-old college graduate. And I said, so tell me, how do you prefer to learn? You just got done graduating college. You just spent 4 years on a grind, right? Do you like to watch a video? Do you like to read? Or do you like to listen? And sure enough, to no surprise of mine, he says, I probably prefer to listen or watch a video. I don't really like to read. And so consider your audience. Me, huge reader, always been a lifelong learner, love to read, less so on the video because frankly, they talk too slow. I got to put it at 1.75 or 2 to just keep me interested. So keep that in mind when you're looking at who's your audience, right? Is it a baby boomer? Or is it a millennial? Is it a Gen X? Is it a Gen Z? And maybe consider accommodating some of your prospecting to be more in alignment with where your suspicion is they're probably going to prefer. What do you think about that, Wendy?
I think that's spot on. And then when you're considering who your prospects are, what your market is, then you also have to consider what's the messaging, whether you're going to leave them a voicemail, try and talk to them, send them an email, text, social media, whatever it is, what's the message that's going to really resonate with them? And
yeah, who knows?
Who knows? It's probably not about insurance specifically.
Oh, ouch. They don't want to know how smart I am.
Yeah, well, that's the second call. You can tell them how smart you are the second call.
No, please don't do it. Yeah. So it sounds to me like you've got to figure out how to say things, leave messages that are of interest to the listener, not interesting to you, interesting to them. And so part of your program is going to teach these insurance consultants, brokers, and advisors how to reach out more effectively and say things and send things that are of value to their buyer, as opposed to maybe showing how smart they are about, here's one you've never heard of before.
Yeah, it's the question that you want to ask is, what's the problem that they have that you can help them with? And how do they talk about it? Not how do you talk about it? How do they talk about it? They're not brokers.
We talk a lot about that. We talk a lot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And part of our process, we have our clients interview their clients, and not so much about insurance, but about how they feel about insurance or working with the brokerage.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because a lot of brokers have niches. You know, they got nonprofits, they got manufacturing, whatever that is. And so if you think about it, you should have an unfair advantage because you should have insights that the average Joe Schmo doesn't have, because you've interviewed your customers to say, you know, how big of an impact is insurance, health insurance specifically, on your negative operating leverage? Woo! It just went over the top for most people. But if you were the right person in a manufacturing company, you'd be like, I've never heard a health insurance agent talk like that. And so your ability to drive value with how you say what you say that matters to them will be a direct link to 3Xing your production.
Yeah. And I would follow up your question, Craig, with my question, because once you get the answer, then you say, and how do you feel about that?
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because for prospecting, we want to hit the emotional chord. We want to get them to say, instead of saying, another broker called me, we want them to think, this guy gets me. This guy understands me.
Yeah.
And the only way that happens is by hitting that kind of emotional chord.
Yeah. So last year, when you didn't beat the peer benchmark and you had an 8% rate increase, did you have the experience of, I gave my employees a 3.5% pay increase, but then I had to take it away because the health insurance premium contributions went up because we had no idea how to control? How did that make you feel? Did you have employees tell you that was, they didn't feel good about that because they're actually working for less money than they did the year before? And let them tell you, right? Something like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And because that's the kind of question that will get someone's attention, and it'll also get their engagement, because it's not just, well, we have this product and we have this other product, and
And how would you feel if that happened again this year? Would that be problematic? Do you think that employees would complain? What do you think the impact on turnover would be? What about the retention of your key, more experienced, older employees who are the ones probably suffering the most under these higher costs? And what about your own job security? Are you concerned about that? Right? I mean, you can just have a whole conversation. We're not talking about insurance.
How do you feel about it? Just keep going with it, because that way you're going to be the guy that gets them, and not, it's another broker.
Yeah. Like you said, I mean, the bar's pretty low. Number one, people aren't even calling. Do you have some of your own opinions as to how many contacts it takes to get that action that you want to have a face-to-face or whatever it is you're trying to do?
Well, that's a great question, because we track in our program. We start by tracking dials, meaning how many times did somebody dial the phone, conversations with decision makers, and appointments scheduled. We're also tracking voicemails and emails and what's returned. And it varies by market. The conversion of dials into conversations, depending on the market, this is the wild card. It could be as low as 2%. It could be as high as 30%.
Wow.
It depends. So that's really a wild card. But then converting those conversations into appointments, we see a minimum of 20%. That's what we're aiming for, is a minimum. If we have somebody that's a beginner, that's never done this before, we're aiming that they're going to convert 20% of their conversations into qualified appointments. But we have people that are doing 30 and 40% and or more.
Do you attribute that to them having better conversations that are deeper, that make them want to kind of let their guard down and go, you know what? I didn't feel any pressure. I didn't feel any stress in having a conversation with this person. They seem to get me, and they want to talk to you.
Absolutely. And that's also just a function of confidence. When we have
a muscle, you build it up, huh?
You build it up over time. When we have people in our program that's, sometimes people have a lot of call reluctance, and they're really scared. And
what are they afraid of? What are they afraid of exactly?
I've never had anybody die from talking to prospects. Like, it hasn't happened. But But people, to me, My first career was I danced in a ballet company. And I got into this field by accident because I needed a day job. Um, to me, this is a lot like stage fright. And I've been there. You're waiting in the wings, you're waiting for your cue.
Yeah.
Your heart's pounding, your palms are sweaty, you think you're going to throw up. And then you hear your music and you get out on stage and you dance.
Yeah.
Well, what enables you to do that when you're like really terrified? You've prepared, you've practiced, you have muscle memory.
Yeah.
We dancers, we warm up and we rehearse and then we perform. And that's what enables performance, is that we're prepared and we practice. So we have muscle memory that enables us to get out on stage and dance. It's the same thing here.
I
That
agree.
if you have a system and you're following the system and you've practiced it, so you have muscle memory, then that discomfort it goes away.
Yeah, we've talked about that many times. When I was first converting from retail to wholesale, and I decided anything that made me uncomfortable, I would jump in with both feet, so I'd get over it faster. And it didn't take any time at all. I even did live television news shows. And by the time I did the sixth one, I'd done dozens of radio shows live and spoke on stages. And after the TV interviews, it's like, okay, I don't need to do this anymore. It's basically, I understood the muscle memory. I could do it and I wasn't phased. And so, yeah, I completely agree. Basically, the lesson, guys and gals, is motivation comes as a result of action. It doesn't come before action. You can't just wake up and be all excited. Well, now the exception might be you go to a Tony Robbins event and you are going to be pumped, but probably within 72 hours, a week at the latest, you'll regression to the mean. You'll keep being distracted by all the latest shiny objects and putting out fires, et cetera, et cetera. So what you need to do is have a tiny bit of motivation, but a big goal. Have a goal worth striving for, and then take a little bit of action. And singles become doubles, doubles become triples, triples become home runs. I could use other sports analogies. You guys get it. It just takes action begets action, and that modifies behavior. And as Wendy said, the more you do it, the more confident you will get. And pretty soon you'll just be an unconscious competent. You don't have to think about it. It just comes out of you naturally.
Just comes out of your mouth. And, when you're a ballet dancer, you take a ballet class every day. It takes 8 to 10 years to train a ballet dancer. But if you do that, yes.
Wow.
You start when you're about 8 years old. It takes 8 to 10 years. But if you do that, you start dancing when you're a little kid and you keep going to ballet class, you know what? You're going to end up being a ballet dancer. It is going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you, like Craig was saying, you're going to take action and you prospect every single day, over time, you're going to see your pipeline grow.
And then you'll be motivated. You'll be like, holy cow. We've told you guys a million times, success has a formula. If you just follow the formula, success is inevitable. And guess what? Most of your competitors won't do the things necessary to be successful. They quit too early. They quit too soon. Hell, they quit before they even try. And they go, I think I'll go see what's in the fridge. Hey, I wonder what's in the mailbox. Hey.
I have paperwork to do.
It's a million distractions. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the business is full of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for those of you who are just listening, I would tell you, watch the show because Wendy's hair is totally fly. Right? It's really great.
Thank you. It's transformational. I recommend it to everyone.
Hey, well, this was great. I really appreciate your time today and sharing some fire with our audience.
Yeah. I'd like to share a gift with our audience.
Oh,
because
please.
the Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders podcast, every time I interview a guest, they always have a gift for our listeners. So what we've done is we have taken all of the gifts, every single one of them, and we have put them together in the Salesology vault. Ooh. So, and yes, there is the link.
It's on the screen.
It's on the screen, bit.ly/gift vault. You can go there. It's free. You can download as many gifts as you want. And every week we release a new podcast, and every week when we release a new podcast, we put a new gift in there. So you can go back every single
so
week and get
great.
another gift.
What a great value add. Wonderful. Show me the money, Wendy.
There you go, at the Salesology Vault.
Excellent.
You go to the landing page, there's a big vault with dollar bills.
Hey, and one last perk for us. So Virtual Alliance, Heads Up Advisor, we're having our event in the Miami area in August. So go check out the website, virtualalliance.com. See if you qualify. It's going to be limited. It's going to be high intensity, 2 days, no fluff, just real things you can use. Things like this. There's the address, virtualalliance.com/HSA. Thank you so much, Wendy. It was a pleasure to meet you. And maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Well, I would love it. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay. Have a great night. Everybody, we'll see you next Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Maybe John will show up.